Hi, Elaine here, aka Marker Geek, and I've got a release review slash haul or whatever you want to call it for the latest Stamping Bella release, the Spring 2018 release, which has just become available. I literally just got my dies in the post, so I'm now able to show you everything. There's a lot in this release, so you may want to grab a cup of tea, a snack or something, because we could be here for a while. We'll start with the new sentiment sets. First off, there is a happy birthday sentiment set with some great general birthday themed sentiments in. I particularly like the Smile, Enjoy, Celebrate sentiment and the Live It Up sentiment. And then there's the Adventure sentiment set, and if you haven't already seen the release, you'll see why that is going to be so useful when you see some of the image stamps that are coming. I love this set, particularly because I'm a bit of a Harry Potter nerd, so that quote is perfect. As usual, they are obviously in the gorgeous duck egg blue foam mounted rubber. Butterfly sentiment set. Some really beautiful quotes and sentiments there for lots of different purposes. Now, there is a new range of character stamps and coordinating dies in the release. And there are quite a few of them. I'm going to show you the stamps and dies and also the cards that I've created with them so far. So here we go. We'll start with the appropriately titled Meet Rosie and Bernie. Rosie and her unicorn friend Bernie like to go on lots of adventures, as you will see. I love this image, it's just really sweet. A really great all-round image for cute cards, birthday cards, whatever. And there's a coordinating die. And here's the card that I made with that one for the previews. Coloured with Copic markers. And for all of the images that I'm showing you today, I am uploading colouring videos to this channel on a regular basis, trying to work my way through all of the videos that I filmed for the release. I've got several up already, and they'll be coming on an almost daily basis. So check back if there's one that you would particularly like to see. This one is a tale of two Rosies, two cute Rosie images, which go perfectly with the new landmark stamps, which I'll be showing you in a minute, or just on their own. And they have a coordinating cut it out die set. This one is my favourite. She's so cute. Just that sort of expression and the movement. She just looks like she's off on her way, off adventuring. So sweet. And this is the card that I made with that one. Kept it quite simple, as usual, and used one of the sentiments from the Adventure sentiment set. And here's Rosie with Bernie again. Rosie and Bernie love to explore. Such a fun image. And the good thing about these is that if you are more of a card maker than a colourist, perhaps if you like to keep it fairly simple when colouring. These really do not take much colouring at all. You can keep it as simple as you like and they look fantastic. There's no hair to colour. The hair is all, as you can see, a solid stamp. So there's no hair colouring to do. There's minimal skin colouring. So if those aren't your favourite things to colour, these stamps are perfect. This is the card that I created with that stamp. Copic coloured image with a Distress Oxide die cut background. I think this might be one of my personal favourites. This is Rosie and Bernie Under the Sea. I love that. And as you can see, Rosie and Bernie come as two separate stamps so that you can arrange them in a scene how you'd like, or use one, use the other. Use them together, use them separately, and there are coordinating dies for those. Here's the card that I created, and I actually used one of the stamps from last summer, the Under the Sea backdrop, to create a scene for Rosie and Bernie to sit in. And I used one of the sentiments from the birthday sentiment set. I coloured the background with Distress inks and added some extra shading with Copics, which made the background quite easy to colour up. And I used some pearlescent watercolours. I think it was the Gansai Tambi watercolours that I used there. Another one of my favourites, I Spy Rosie and Bernie. Just adorable, ridiculous, can't cope. So cute. And that one again has a coordinating cut it out die. And here's the card that I created using that stamp, along with a sentiment from the Adventure Sentiment set. This one is just really sweet and sentimental, with little Rosie holding on to Bernie's tail. I love stamps from this drawn from this perspective, facing away. There's just something really sweet about it. That one comes with a lovely sentiment stamp. But on the card I created, I used one of the stamps from the Adventure Sentiment set, that Harry Potter quote. I also used one of the backdrops from last year, the fall backdrop, but I masked off the tree before stamping and masked the hills before doing a Distress Oxide sky, and then just coloured the hills in using Copic markers. And I gave Bernie a shimmery mane and tail. As you can see, Rosie and Bernie like to get up to all sorts of things. They're having a tea party. How ridiculous. So cute. You can just see him sticking his little pinky finger out if he had one. And the nice thing about the die for this one is that it is going to cut out all of the spaces in the legs of the table and the chairs, which is nice. I love that. I actually cropped the image down for my card a and popped it in the Stampin' Bella Polaroid cut it out die, which I cut from a glittery cardstock. I used a sentiment from one of last year's sentiment sets, the Unicorn sentiment set, which is obviously perfect for using with Rosie and Bernie. And here we've got Rosie and Bernie planning a trip, and you'll see soon that actually they planned quite a few trips, I think. Again, cut it out die. And here's the card I created using that stamp. Again, I used that fall backdrop and masked off the tree and created a daytime scene, this time with another Distress Oxide blended sky and Copic coloured hills. And that is another sentiment quote from the Adventure Sentiment set. And then we've got two adorable stamp sets. These are a couple of my favourites from the release. They're so cute. Put a stamp on it, Rosie, and put a stamp on it, Bernie. They both come with two sizes, a mini and a standard size. And there is a postage stamp cut it out die set that coordinates with them and will cut out both sizes of the stamp. And I created a card with Bernie featuring a sentiment from the Unicorn add-on set from last year, which again is ideal for using with Rosie and Bernie stamps to let you basically stretch them. I love using older stamps with the new stamps to show you how you can basically stretch your collection and make sure you get the most out of your stamps. Created this cute little card using the Rosie stamp and one of the sentiments from the birthday sentiment set. Now we've got Rosie and Bernie off on their adventures all over the world. We'll start out with Rosie and Bernie in Hawaii. And there is a cut it out die for that one as well. And now we get some scene stamps, landmarks and scene building stamps to go with them. So Rosie and Bernie's palm tree. This one is pretty big, as you can see. And the landmark and scene stamps don't have coordinating dies. I created a card for the release using the palm tree and Rosie and Bernie in Hawaii, along with the beach backdrop stamp from last summer, which I coloured using Distress inks and added a little Copic shading. The sentiment is from the Adventure Sentiment set again. As you can see, I added some glossy accents to Rosie's glasses. The frame was cut using a new toy of mine, which I will be talking about on my blog at some point soon, but I ended up treating myself to a new Cricut cutting machine, so more about that at a later date. Next, Rosie and Bernie find themselves in Canada, which of course is where our head Bella, Emily, is from. And this is just adorable. It's ridiculous. love it. And of course a cut it out die. And the landmark is the CN Tower. And here's the card I created using that one, using some ancient pattern paper I had in the depths of my stash somewhere to create a backdrop for my little scene. As you can see, these go really well together to create a really cute card. Again, another sentiment from the Adventure Sentiment set. And Rosie and Bernie also made it to New York City. How cute does she look with her giant sunglasses? And again, a coordinating die. We also have Rosie and Bernie's Statue of Liberty to go with them. And here is the card I made using them. Distress Oxide background again, just really simple, and popped the die cut images up in front, well, fussy cut, because I didn't have the dies at this point, and there are no dies for the landmarks, so that was the cause of some hand cramping. And another sentiment from the Adventure Sentiment set. Possibly the cutest, funniest stamp from Rosie and Bernie's A Trip Across the World is the Rosie and Bernie in London stamp. I'm not sure which poor unsuspecting guardsman ended up missing their hats, but I don't think Rosie can actually even see out from under us. So cute. And of course, we had to have Rosie and Bernie's Big Ben as the landmark. And again, here's the card that I created. Another Distress Oxide background, an Adventure Sentiment. And that came together really easily. Rosie and Bernie then made it over to Paris. And clearly we're getting a little bit peckish at this point. These stamps really are great if you want to put together a fun card but don't want to spend forever colouring. As I mentioned before, they're really, really easy to colour up. And these cards came together so easily. This is the Paris card I created. It's the Eiffel Tower stamp. The landmarks take no time at all to colour. And again, another sentiment from the Adventure Sentiment set that I stamped and then cut apart to arrange around my card. Rosie and Bernie also popped over to Italy. So sweet, very Lady and the Tramp. And the landmarks we've got are the Leaning Tower of Pisa and the Colosseum. And I know that I think it was Jenny did on the design team did a fantastic card using one of the A Tale of Two Rosies stamps, the one with the camera in front of this, in front of the Colosseum. So you could use that stamp set in front of any of the landmarks as well. The card I created uses the Leaning Tower of Pisa and Rosie and Bernie. Again, that ancient pattern paper that I've had forever. I don't even remember who it's by. Maybe Doodlebug, maybe. And one of the adventure sentiments. And that is Rosie and Bernie. And we can move on to some of the other stamps in the new release. We've got a couple of new backdrop stamps. And as you've seen, I find these really useful. Love these for creating scenes, and I've had a lot of fun with this one so far. This is the new garden backdrop. As you can see, it's a great size. And it goes really well with some of our older backdrops, which you'll be seeing shortly. This is the new gnome backdrop, although you don't just have to use it with the gnomes, but it goes perfectly with the new stamps, which I know a lot of people have been really excited about. Those have been really popular. That one was a lot of fun to colour. I have a bit of a thing about colouring toadstools. Yeah, I have a lot of things about things. And I'll show you now the adorable mini Frenchies stamp set. I love French bulldogs, and these are just too cute, especially this one. I think it's my favourite. These are small. You get 3 separate stamps, and there are cut it out dies. And as soon as I saw these, I knew that I wanted to create a scene using the garden backdrop. And then I also added one of the older backdrop stamps, the summer backdrop from last year, and masked it together to create this scene. I put together a post for Stamp It Saturday last week on the Stamping Bella blog, and also on my own blog, showing how I put together the scene, how I stamped and masked the scene, and also a colouring video showing how I coloured the entire scene with full Copic marker details. The sentiment there is also from another older stamp set, the Danielle Donaldson Only Gretchen stamp set. And here is one of the first new gnome stamps. Hilarious. Oh gnome, you didn't. I loved colouring that snail. So much fun. So cute. And cut it out die. And here's the card I created, popping him up in front of the gnome background. Love it. And here we have the Gnome Pile stamp set. I love hanging with my gnomies is the sentiment that comes with that one. And cut it out die. And here's the card I created using that one. Again, with some ancient paper from my stash. I'm trying to use up my old stash of paper so I can have a good excuse to buy some new paper. I think this was Doodlebug again. And another hilarious gnome stamp. I think Emily had quite a bit of fun coming up with the ideas for what the gnomes could be up to. Here we've got a gnome and a flamingo lawn ornament having a bit of a row. They come as 2 separate stamps, so you could use the gnome with another stamp, maybe with some of the other gnome stamps, etc. You could use them together or separately, and there are cut it out dies for both of them. And here's the card I made. I kept it simple. Just Copic coloured background and a little bit of white gel pen to add some interest. Just just a fun card. One of my favourites of the new Gnome stamps is the Gnome Home, as I mentioned. I have a thing for toadstools, and little fairy houses would be another one of my things. So this just, yeah, adorable. And it comes with 3 different sentiments. There's no place like Gnome, Home Sweet Gnome, and Gnome is where the heart is. Cut it out die. And here's the card I created with that one. Another of my favourites from the release, the Gnome on a Swing. Love the sentiment. Do what brings you joy, discard the rest. My favourite thing about this stamp is the little caterpillar up on the branch above him. So sweet. I love those little details. And there's a cut it out die for this one, which, as you can see, will cut out the inner piece here. And here's the card that I created for that one. The Gnome and the Butterfly. This set comes with the Gnome and the Butterfly stamps separately and a sentiment, you know me too well. As you can see, Emily got a little punny with this release. Coordinating die set, and here's the card that I created with this, using up some more old papers that I have had in my stash forever. I added some white gel detail to the white gel pen detail to the butterfly and also to the gnome, just to create some extra interest. We also have the Gnome Bouquet stamp that comes with I love you no matter what sentiment. It's a really fun, sweet image. And here's the card I created. I'm looking forward to using the gnomes again soon to create some scene cards. And this is the Gnomes Have Feelings 2 set. And if you look closely at the tops of their hats, the little lines mimic the emotion. I love the grumpy one in the middle. So funny. And the sentiment reads, keep calm no matter what. They come as 3 separate stamps to arrange how you like, along with the sentiment. And there's a cut it out die set. And here's the simple card I created. And that's it for the gnomes. We've got one new Cool Chicks stamp, which I know a lot of people will be excited about. It's as ridiculous as all of the other Cool Chicks stamps. The one that's upside down. Come on. And the mask. Seriously. This is chicken soup. What better way to cheer somebody up who is feeling a bit under the weather than with a ridiculous chick stamp. Here's the card I created. And now, time for something that will make quite a few people happy. A lot of people were upset that the last release did not include Edna. So here she is. There are 2 new Edna stamps. This first one is Edna to the Rescue, so another get well themed stamp. She comes with a sentiment, wishing you a speedy recovery. She is, as with all the Edna stamps, a really nice size for colouring. So you can get stuck in. Coordinating die. And here's the card I created. And here's the second Edna stamp. Edna loves to sweep. With, yeah, perfect quote. My idea of housework is to sweep the room with a glance. Yep, pretty much. And coordinating die. And here's the card I created. If you're interested, the paper is actually fairly new. It's from the Prima Marketing Ink Rose Quartz 6x6 pad. And I stamped the sentiment and cut it apart to fit on my card. And even more people will be thrilled to know that the Uptown Girls have not been forgotten in this release. There are 2 Uptown Girl stamps. Firstly, Nancy reads the newspaper. I love this image. It's a little bit nostalgic because I don't remember the last time I actually saw someone reading a newspaper like this. Again, as with most of the Uptown Girl stamps, it's a really nice size stamp for colouring. Cut it out die. And here's the card I created. Randomly, I happen to have in my ancient stash of papers the perfect newsprint paper to use. The other Uptown Girl stamp is Uptown Girl Grace the Graduate. And she comes with a fantastic quote. Which could be used for so many things, not just graduation. General encouragement card. Here's the card that I created. Again, stamped and cut apart the sentiment. I love doing that. Now, on to something that will have just as many people excited. Tiny Townies. I love the tiny Townies, they're always adorable. And this first one is Tiny Townie Courtney Loves Kitties. And I have told Emily that we definitely need a puppy version. Make sure you let her know too, so that we can get a puppy version of this. Comes with the sentiment, time spent with cats is never wasted. Cut it out die. And here's the card I created using Courtney. And the great things about these images is that they're a nice size, so you can create really eye-catching simple cards, or you can go more detailed. They work beautifully with either style. Next we have a new garden girl, and I know a lot of people will be excited for this one. This is Tiny Townie Garden Girl Violet. Isn't she pretty? Again, don't forget, we have from last year the Garden Girl Floral Sentiment set, which will coordinate really well with this, and which I have used on my card. We're going to finish with 4 absolutely stunning stamps. The new Tiny Townie Butterfly Girls. This is Tiny Townie Babette. And just look at that. I'm so glad Emily included one viewed from the back so you can see the entirety of those gorgeous wings. And the nice thing about these is there are so many different ways that you can colour these, whatever medium you're using. You can really go to town, lots of detail, or you can keep it fairly simple, as I have done here, because I was colouring so many images. and they still look stunning. And again, if you want to see how I have coloured these, I've already uploaded 2 of the Butterfly Girl videos. The other 2 will be coming shortly. So you'll be able to see exactly how I approached colouring these if you're looking for some inspiration. Here's the card that I created. And don't forget, we've got the Butterfly Sentiment set, which is where I got the sentiment for this card. These are really nice for encouragement cards, or of course birthday cards, any sort of card, but with the Butterfly Sentiment set, kind of encouragement, sort of I'm thinking of you cards really come to mind. This is Brianna the Butterfly. Really pretty. And of course, cut it out die. And here's the card I created using the garden backdrop. And this time I just added in a sort of sketchy Copic coloured background. I also popped one of the sentiments from the Butterfly Sentiment set in the top of that archway. Then we have Bess the Butterfly. And I'm using Bess at the moment in my little 2-part series on the Stamping Bella blog, showing darker Copic skin tones. So if that's something you're interested in, make sure you check that out. I'll hopefully have a video coming on that. You can see the video for how I coloured Bess here for the product packaging on my channel now. This is the card that I created using the Love Backdrop stamp, which was released at the end of last year. And finally, we have Tiny Townie Blanche the Butterfly. She's absolutely gorgeous. Cut it out die, and here's the card that I created. I used one of the sentiments from the Butterfly Sentiment set, stamped it and cut it apart to fit my layout, and I also added some shimmer to her wings and some white gel pen detail to that dress, just to add some interest and make it stand out from the wings. But if you check the Stamping Bella blog, you'll see how other members of the team have coloured the Butterfly Girls so far. We've all coloured them differently and they all look amazing. And that is it. So I hope you've enjoyed this look at the new release. And as I said, join me here on my channel to see all the colouring videos and see what else I've been up to with them. And I will catch you soon.